Hello and welcome to Manitoba Seniors Today. I'm your host, Lloyd Gwillem. Manitoba Seniors Today is my self-funded, no-profit venture dedicated to sharing senior issues, interests, and ideas via community access TV programming and social media. On today's episode, we sit down for a chat with the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition, that's MSEAC for short. Then we found out what I've been up to lately following a website called Find a Grave. But first, I acknowledge this program originates on Treaty 1 territory and that Manitoba is located on the treaty territories and ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Anishinaabeg, Dakota, Oite, Dene, Siouxland, Nehinawa nations. I also acknowledge that Manitoba is located on the homeland of the Red River Métis and that parts of northern Manitoba includes lands that were and are the ancestral lands of the Inuit. Last episode, we visited the Corridon Community Centre during their Wednesday for Seniors. Well, there we recorded several segments. Some made it to episode 5, and now the remainder will be in this episode. Direct from that Corridon Community Centre recording session, we have this interview with two wonderful representatives of the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition, and that's MSEAC for short. Let's have a watch of that episode. Good afternoon, and this afternoon we have two special guests, Dr. Sandra Sukhan and Terri Hammerback. And could you introduce yourself, Sandra?
I'm Sandra Sukhan. I am the Honorary Council for Guyana, spent over the last 13 years serving as the Honorary Council. I'm also on 2 equity boards, the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition, for which I'm the co-chair, and I'm also the treasurer of another 55 plus nonprofit, Pembina Active Living 55 plus. So I wear both hats in a volunteer capacity. My focus here today is really about the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition.
And Terri?
My name is Terri Hammerback, and I'm the Secretary Treasurer of the MSEAC Board, and I have a strong background in advocacy work, which is a focus of the MSEAC organization. I have over 40 years experience working in Manitoba Justice and the Office of the Children's Advocate, and I began in that office in 1994 and worked there until 2005 when I returned to Manitoba Justice. I've been on a number of boards. I was on the board of Rossbrook House for 15 years. I have just a very general interest in advocacy now for seniors.
So as we're talking to the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition, what is it?
So we like to use the acronym MSEAC because it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
So the coalition was established in 2024. Formally in 2025, we're working towards a non-charitable status. But basically, the group is an advocacy group representing communities that don't ordinarily get represented. So an equity coalition of people racialized. So I'm from a racialized community, LGBTQ, persons living with disabilities, Indigenous people, and people who may be, houseless at some point in their life or currently. So it's a wide scope of people who don't ordinarily make it into mainstream issues.
So the organization is less than 2 years old, if I get that correct. And you've already accomplished one of the goals you set to do. What was that? Could you explain that a little bit?
That was the establishment of the Office of the Seniors Advocate. And that was a strong area that we wanted to advocate for during the election campaign 2 years ago. We ran a campaign supporting and advocating for a seniors advocate to be established. So that was a big goal that we had, which was accomplished after the government took power, the new government.
Yes.
Well, being a senior, I'd have to say thank you, because I really believe that's a great thing to do. Wanted to say something, Sandra?
So that the Seniors Advocate started in mid-November and reports directly to the legislature. So, that was one of the things that we felt was really important, so that it's not reporting to a particular
Health region.
health region or minister. It's broader than that, and we felt that was significant. There's as a growing seniors population expected to explode by 2040 into like about 30% of Canadians. It is critical that attention be paid to people who are older adults.
Have you heard how it's going at all, or?
As far as we know, there is a posting to hire a deputy seniors. I'm probably not calling it correctly, but the office is being set up right now, and I believe the seniors advocate is going out in the community and meeting various groups. We met with her. We requested a meeting with her, and so she did come out to our group. And by the way, our group also is supported by a number of other partners who believe that the work we're doing is important. So we requested on behalf of all the partners or supporters to come out and talk to us about what she foresees as her role in the next 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, I could see maybe us getting together in 8 months or 9 months and talking about how that office is doing. That may be a good one. The other thing I had here was, what are some of the organization's future goals?
We're advocating for government to acknowledge that everyone can't afford to go into assisted living. And so that's what's causing people going into premature long-term care because there isn't that step. So
in between.
And the average cost for a assisted living facility in Winnipeg run by the for-profit organization is between $4,000 and $6,000 a year.
Per person?
Per person.
Yeah, that's tough.
And the average
no, you said
person,
per year, but it's per month, is it?
Per month.
Per month.
Per month,
Per month, yes. And it's far above what OAS, CPP, and GIS is in terms of wages. So we're, at this point in time, up till now, the government has said that they're leaving it to the for-profit sector to provide assisted living. And we've met with the government as an organization, and we've suggested to them that that's unaffordable for a number of groups and a number of people, and that they need to look at developing some type of a seniors, what would be the word, Sandra?
Housing model or
like
something?
a model of seniors care that might be multiple options, because what's good for one group may not be good for another.
Well, it seems like, we're looking at apartments on Portage Avenue, and the Mennonites had a set up there where they had 3 different levels you could go through.
But,
you had to pay for
You had to pay.
this, but
yes, but the idea is that we're looking at the government to start either building or supporting affordable housing, because $2,000 a month, if that's your income, is not going to pay for $3,000 to $6,000 a month for an assisted living. And there are very few units. I think in all of Manitoba there might be 66 units in the whole of the province, not 66 buildings, 66 units.
Beds or units.
And they're not in the best of condition. So that's one of the things we're advocating for, affordable housing. So while some of us may be able to afford to live, so my mom lived in an assisted living for profit. So her issue wasn't that she couldn't afford to live there, but coming from a racialized community, it wasn't culturally appropriate for her. So that became a challenge for her, because a lot of the programming, even things like food, which is very basic, great food, but I spent a lot of time cooking food and taking it for her because she didn't like the food that was cooked. And then there were not a lot of people who looked like her when she lived there. And because a lot of them were older people who probably shouldn't have been in assisted living, maybe something more advanced than that, like the next level up, it was very challenging for her, who was still driving and quite mobile, to be living in a place where she felt like she didn't quite belong there.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that sense of belonging. It's not just about the affordability piece, but also relevant kinds of housing where you can feel safe, you can feel like you're part of a community.
Yeah.
We also are looking at doing a review of both for-profit and not-for-profit long-term care facilities.
Yeah.
And the costs associated with that. So, for example, comparing Extendicare versus somebody like the WRHA, who is running a not-for-profit organization, as well as the number of church groups and things of that nature. So although the rate to go into a long-term care home is the same, whether you go into the Simkin Center or, which is a not-for-profit, or whether you go into Bethania Nursing Home, convalescent nursing home in the area, the cost is the same, but the profit is not being reinvested into the personal care home. The profit's being reinvested into the shareholders' pocket. Yeah. So that's a big issue that we're wanting to do a review on. We also have a partnership with the University of Manitoba. We have 3 researchers working together with us to look at doing some of the research behind these goals that we have. We also are looking, another goal of ours is that we're looking for expanded funding from the government for not-for-profit public services. So that is including aging in place and home care. So how do people age in place? If you're living in a fancy assisted living facility, it's quite easy to age in place, but how do we support people in the community who want to be at home and stay in their home as long as possible? What does that look like? What does home care look like? It's not always...
or what does dependable home care look like?
Depend is a good point, yes.
Yeah, because I was doing a presentation here last month on Care Possible, and it's a great system, but somebody pointed out, like if that person can't come that day, who comes instead? So if you're managing it yourself, you have to figure that out. If you hire a company, the company would do that, but I think that word dependable gets to be. Yeah. I always hear so many times when there's a snowstorm,
no one shows up.
No one shows up, and I wonder, well, how do those people manage if they need help? And we do have I wouldn't say a relative, but a sort of a relative that, blind at home and needs care. It's got to be scary at times.
So that's part of some of the challenge, because different housing needs, different people will have different housing needs, and sometimes we'll say, okay, well, we live in we're fairly, in a fairly wealthy or middle or upper middle class community. We may not want to go into an assisted living, even when we can afford to do that. We'd like to stay in our home. Yeah. How do we go about doing that? So we also look at things like we work with the Public Interest Law Center to look at things like affordable utilities. That affects everyone. So that's not just someone going into an assisted living, but if you're living at home, what does that look like? Who's gonna, when you yourself cannot go and take care of your lawn care, where do you go get help like that? Or snow removal, where do you go get help? So a lot of people can afford to live in their homes. They're sort of house rich and cash poor. You can afford to live in your home, but you can't afford to upkeep the home, which is a reality for a lot of older adults as well. Or even just in terms of their physical capability. They might have mobility issues or any number of reasons why they may not be able to do those things.
It sounds like you've been listening to me sometimes.
I think that's really interesting because we're all faced with some common issues. Yes, and that's the beauty of having an equity coalition is that we all have some common things. So while some things that thing may not fit us, we all have the same things we're dealing with.
My wife and I were out looking for some lawn care, and I got a hold of them, and we're booking too late. They're full, and they don't even want to talk to us.
Yes.
So then what do you do? Because you still need the work done. So we did it ourselves this year. I don't know if I want to do it again next year.
Yes. It could be things like window cleaning. It's you're not going to climb up in a 2-story house and leap out the window to clean your window. So all of those things become important when you still continue to live in your home. It could be things like, how do you get help? Maybe navigating the stairs is a challenge. And so how do you get some mobility aids affordable, retrofitting your home for things like grab bars, non-slip floors. There's all kinds of things that one would need to do to modify your home as you age
Yeah.
in place. And in place doesn't mean in your home. It could be in an apartment. It could be in an assisted living.
Did you have some more goals listed there? Or?
I think that's about it. Well, we want to expand our research into different areas that are of interest to seniors. So we, continue to look at what are the current issues of the day in terms of right now. One of the current issues, if you've read in the paper, is a number of people who are living in low-income housing, where the government has now decided to integrate homeless underhoused people into the particular homes, one on Powers and one on Selkirk Avenue. And so now that's created a whole new issue. The underhoused do need housing, but the issue of integrating intergenerational housing doesn't always necessarily work. So that's another issue that we're looking at doing some advocacy as well.
Yeah, I think when I moved here about 10 years ago. And one of the things I saw is the government had a building downtown with like 300 apartments, but it was empty because it didn't want to fix the HVAC system. I thought, somebody has to be on top of these maintenance of these buildings. I hope they've done it. Maybe I shouldn't rant. So the other question I had was, how might the senior community help you guys with these goals? Is engagement with them or just?
I think we were just wanting people to know more about us and what our advocacy is all about. Like I said, some of the issues are specific to a specific maybe person, but I think overall it's really, we're all facing that, and at some point we'll face that. So what we've been doing is talking to other seniors organizations to see if they would be getting on board with some of the things we're wanting. Utilities, for instance, affects everyone, whether you're a senior or not. But when you are a senior, what you used to work for, and even if you're getting a really good pension, suddenly it's 70%. So we're looking for other seniors group to partner with us and move forward with advocacy, because I think collectively we have a bigger voice than each of us individually. So any group such as this, we would be glad to have partner with us. We've had some, the CARP, which I think most people are, Canadian Association of Seniors.
Retired persons.
Sorry.
My question.
That was one of our partners.
Yeah.
And I also am part of Pembina Active Living. They've been supportive as well. So that's a senior center. We have other groups that, and Terri might know a few more. There's a list of about 12. So you guys would actually
go out and maybe speak to the groups, or?
We could, and most of who we've had so far is within our communities that we know, and so we've talked to people about that. Last year we did a webinar and invited other people, so that the BC Advocate was speaking. We planned the webinar. We had our AGM last year, also invited other people who we know from within our communities. So if we belong to another group, we ask them. And I think the more voices we have and the more support we have to move forward, the more power we have as older adults.
We've reached out to, I want to say, at least 50 seniors groups and invited them to attend our webinars, invited them to come to meetings. We hosted a meeting with the Seniors Advocate. We invited them to attend. We've also engaged some larger retired persons, the Manitoba Association of Retired Government Employees, different organizations like that we've reached out to, who we ask when we're making proposals to government and when we're talking about specific issues, we like to ask our partners to support whatever notion, whatever issue it is that we're looking at that particular day. When we were advocating for a seniors advocate, that's when we contacted that large group of people.
Well, that seemed to work well.
It did.
Yes, it did.
It got their attention at the government level anyway.
Yes, and I think we had a high representation of racialized seniors, because I have contacts within the community at large. As the honorary council, you meet a lot of people from various communities, and you realize that we all have the same interests, and if we can support each other as we advance our cause, I think that's really, really powerful.
Do you have any events or public engagements coming up?
We are planning an event, I believe it is for October 1st, that we will publicize because that is a National Seniors Day.
Oh, okay.
So we will host some type of event for that particular day.
And of course, we have our AGM around the same time, and so we encourage people to come out and hear what we are not the sole sort of arbiters of advocacy. We just want
One of them.
one other. We are not one voice, but collectively we can be many voices. So trying to get on board, we're just doing this and building a kind of a momentum, because I think voices such as, like I said, me coming from a racialized community, oftentimes we don't get researched, we don't get heard, we're kind of invisible. So the groups we're representing are the people who are generally invisible. So we want to get that out there, that while you may be able now, you may be at some point not able to do the things you're doing. And whether you come from a racialized community or part of the mainstream, the issues are kind of the same. You still need housing, you still need affordable food, utilities, access to good care. All of those things are common across all of us.
And the last item I had was, did you have anything you wanted to add that we haven't talked about?
Well, I think some of the challenges we might face, of
sure.
course, is some things around, of course, funding. We want to do really
How are
great
you
work.
funded anyway? Or you're not?
Barely.
Okay.
We do apply for grants, and we've been fairly fortunate to have another very established community-based organization supporting us through the course of time. And of course, we apply for funding, and we realize that that's always a big challenge. But when you're a new organization looking for funding, it's very difficult to kind of prove yourself, so to speak, because you don't have that history.
Yeah.
So that's part of what we're doing. We are also looking at building our partnerships, and we have to say that some seniors organizations are still a little reluctant because we're new. And if you come from a particular demographic, you don't think that an equity coalition would interest you. But as I said before, we're all facing some very common challenges as we age. And
I think that another one of the issues, though, for us is political will as well to fund. We are, at this point in time, we're looking at trying to mobilize both levels of government to look at the issue of affordable housing for seniors, and what does that mean in terms of the federal housing program that's being announced right now. So there has to be political will. We've met with both governments, federal government and provincial government, and we do have some suggestion that they would be interested. Of course, they're interested because we're a large demographic. Yeah. So interested in supporting us. So one of the hurdles that we face is getting the political will there to get things done. I think the people are cooperating with us as much as they can, but there are so many issues going on right now that
they're stretched so many
they're
directions.
stretched very thin. Yes.
And I would add that also, so federal for sure, provincial for sure, but municipal as well, because that's, when we're looking at, I realize that home care is something that is still provincial, but when we live in smaller communities, or in this case, Winnipeg, we still need those resources within the city to things like cleaning the sidewalks.
Things they can do, yeah. I was just thinking of the snow on sidewalks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, where people can still get around, providing good bus service. All levels of government need to be working in tandem. You can't just have someone building but no one operating, and then continuous service. So they're all important aspects of what we do.
So if people want to find you on a website, look at that camera and tell them where the website is.
So the website is MSEAC.com.
Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition. Thank you,
Yes.
Terri. Thank you, Sandra, for discussing this today.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you.
Just to be clear about that MSEAC website address, it is www.mseac.ca. Whether you use the www at the start or not is immaterial these days. Much thanks to Dr. Sandra, Sukhan, and Terri Hammerback for sharing some of their time to inform us about MSEAC, the Manitoba Seniors Equity Action Coalition. What I've been up to lately, following a website called Find a Grave. Wondering where I am? Well, have a look around. I'm at a cemetery. Actually, Brookside Cemetery to be exact. It's a city-owned cemetery located in the northwest part of Winnipeg. I came here to help explain something called Find a Grave. And apparently I have less than 2 minutes to explain it, but if I stick to my script, we should be able to make it. Find a Grave is a free website or smartphone application that can be used to locate family, friends, or ancestors' final resting spots like here. According to Wikipedia, they're the world's largest free online burial database. They're completely free to use, except for some annoying ads on the screen, and are owned by Ancestry.com, a for-pay subscription company. Second to them is Billion Graves, that's with a B, Billion, which is another grave locating tool that partners with FamilySearch.com. I've used both in the past, and Find a Grave was more useful for the ancestry of my family searches. I used it to find my great-grandfather Solomon Peter Fox, buried in Brandon. On his Find a Grave listing, it showed links to other family members, so I was able to locate one of his sons right here in Brookside Cemetery. I had no idea the family was even located out this way. Find a Grave, which started in 1995, relies on millions of volunteers to locate and provide information for graves. Find a Grave claims to have over 250 million records. Recently, I also started volunteering for them by taking GPS tagged photos of my family's grave sites as well as others, so they will be available for distant family who may never travel to the cemetery or for future generations who are doing research. It's a very cool tool and totally free, except for those annoying ads that go on the screen. To find it, just Google Find a Grave or go to www.findagrave.com. It's a very simple website to navigate, so have a look. You might be surprised what you learn. I was, and that's my time. Well, that was fun. One other tip for us seniors, consider planning your burial spot ahead of time. My wife and I bought ours a few years back. Now we're considering purchasing a grave marker, so the stone or marble or bronze monument or plaque can be created with our names and birth dates and a special message ahead of time. Then when the dreaded day comes, all they need to do is install a departure date. Saves our family guessing about our needs and desires. That's a wrap on this episode. If you would like to contribute ideas for a program or just want to share some comments, feel free to visit my website at www.manitobaseniourstoday.com. There's a contact page with a form for providing feedback and comments. Be sure to check back for future programs on TV and social media. Till next time, thanks for watching.